Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This topic I wanted to talk about coming out, if you want to use that term, or just telling friends and family or close people to you that you're trans, right at the early stages. And I think the way you come out or the way you tell people can really affects the way that they treat you and treat how serious what you're saying to them is, as opposed to thinking that it's kind of like a phase or you're not sure about what you're doing. Now, I remember when I was younger, telling my parents, I was very sure. Obviously, this depends on what they think about this kind of situation in general, and depending on how supportive they are as a whole with you. Now, my parents are very supportive. I'm extremely lucky that I have a very supportive family and parents and brother and sister. But I was still afraid to tell them how I felt because I didn't really know what I wanted either. I mean, I knew I was trans, but I didn't really know what that entailed and what process that I had to go through to get where I wanted to get to at the time. Um, so telling your parents, the way you tell them is really important, I think, because you want it to come across that you're telling them what you're going to be doing with your life, as opposed to asking their opinion. There's a very different. It's very different to say, "I'm trans, and this is what's going to be happening in the future," as opposed to saying to your parents, "I think I'm trans. I think I want to transition." You almost ask them what they think. And of course, if you ask someone's opinion on something, then they're going to give you their opinion, and it might not be what you want to hear, because if they don't have the knowledge about it all themselves and stuff, they're going to give an answer which is usually in their head in your best interest of thinking, oh, that's a very big and difficult thing to go through. You don't sound very sure, so maybe you should think about it, or maybe it's just a phase, and maybe you should wait a little while before you decide to go any further with this. And of course, depending on what age you are, this can be not the news you want to hear, because for all of us, we all kind of, we're all kind of in a rush to get everything done as quick as possible. Understandably as well, because life is short and we all want to enjoy our lives the way we want to be and be happy for as long as possible. So the quicker we can get everything done that we want to get done, the better, so that we can enjoy life. So I really think that I don't know where this came from, and I don't know why I was like this, but I've always been extremely stubborn and very self-assured of myself. So I was very kind of, once I've decided to do something, then I do it, because I just don't see the point. If you're not going to do it properly, then don't bother. And of course, being trans is who I am. It's always been there, but my sense of drive and was very strong. So for me, it was kind of, even if no one supported me, or of course it was going to be hard, but even if no one supported what I was doing or had my back, as it were, I think I still would have done it anyway, because I was that sure about who I was and what I wanted for my life, and I didn't see any other option. There was no, I'd been living the gender that I was born in for long enough. That was just, I didn't want to be like that anymore, and I knew that if I didn't do something when I did, that other problems would have started to get very serious, with depression and hating myself and lack of energy, lack of wanting to do anything. So it was a really important decision, and of course it's not a decision that you make lightly. We all have to go through that part of making that decision to finally admit to ourselves who we are, and then telling the people that we love. And that is a really difficult thing, because, we want to make people happy, but of course, we can't sacrifice our own happiness for other people. You can't. And the thing is that transitioning is a very selfish process. Not on purpose. It's not on purpose. It's just that if you cannot only focus on your needs and what you need to do to get where you need to be, then it's impossible, or it's a very slow process, because you can't you know, it's very easy for a lot of other people. And I don't think people always do it without realizing, because they don't understand what we're going through and stuff. So sometimes they can be very, so everything's always about you, isn't it? You only want to do things that suit you, or this or that, because generally they haven't had to look that deep inside themselves to try and figure out who they are and stuff. Usually, if they fit into society's box of 2.4 children and all that, then their life is kind of already planned out for them, kind of thing. Whereas for people like us, or people in minority groups where things are different and it's not as plain sailing as it is for everybody else, we really have to know who we are to be able to get through all of this kind of stuff. So in order to do that, you have to focus entirely on you and yourself and what you need to do, your goals. Any money you're saving is all for this surgery or that surgery, or to get money to go and see your gender therapist, all of that, those kinds of things. So, if you can't, you have to be that focused. Otherwise, it's going to take even longer. Being a transgendered person, you have to be very organized to get everything sorted out and done. And it took me a long time. I think it does take a long time, unless you have tons of money, to get everything done straight away. It takes quite a while, and depending on what age you are, it's a big chunk of your life. And you want to be able to enjoy life when you're still young and healthy and somewhat attractive without sagging skin or whatever. We all want to try and be youthful and enjoy life for as long as possible. So we want to be as happy as we can be in our skin for as long as possible. So we're all on a race to try and get everything done as quick as possible. So if you can really commit to just thinking about yourself, and getting all that done, it's really going to help you a lot. And hopefully you have friends and family around you who are supportive and loving enough to understand that this is what needs to happen. And my advice is, what my parents did, is that while I'm going on this journey and I'm learning how to do everything and become who I am, they at the same time were learning through me and through themselves of actually finding out more information about trans people and trans rights and stuff like that. So they were learning, because obviously, maybe it's a bit different now because of the internet, and trans people are more visually available for people to see and stuff. So more people kind of know about trans people. But before the internet and stuff, there wasn't anything on TV or anything, very extremely rarely. So, as my parents said to me, we could only go on what you were telling us. We didn't really know anything about trans. We didn't have any trans in our family. I didn't know about any trans myself. So they were learning as I was learning. And as they, as supportive as my family were, it was still a big thing for them to get their head round, understandably, because even I was struggling with it. But it really helps, and it does show how much people care about you if they're willing to learn and grow with you, because it shows that they do care and they do love you and they do have a vested interest in you as a person and your happiness, because they're willing to learn and understand about who you are and the new world that you're part of, and also that they're part of as well. My mum always said, there's three of us. I have a brother and sister, and I'm the eldest. My mum always wanted 4 children, 2 girls, 2 boys. And I said to her, because at the beginning I think she found it difficult that she was losing a son. And I said, look, you wanted 4 children, you've had 2 boys, now you have 2 girls. So, I said, look at it that way, okay? And I thought, that was a good way of putting it across. And I think it did make her think differently, give her a different mindset towards it. Of course, now I've been living full-time for so long that none of us really remember the person that was there before. And obviously, I'm still exactly the same person. I just look different. But I've always been the girl that I am now. So, we don't really remember that person. And I think for me, that's great and it's amazing, because I'm just accepted as the woman that I am. I never feel that I'm anything less than that with my family, which is amazing. I'm very lucky and I never take it for granted. But I know so many people who don't have that support from their friends and family, and I know how difficult it is for them, just from them telling me. I can't relate to it at all. I'm not going to try to, because that would be disrespectful. But I know how hard it is for people, which is why having your support of other trans people really does help. And I think if you have friends who are a bit older and that do ask them questions. I know a lot of girls can be very cagey about talking about their past or surgeries or this or that, but there's a difference between trying to get information out of people just because you want the number for their surgeon or whatever, as opposed to asking them advice and for help about going through things. I think that's a big difference. And I'm always willing to help out people who need help with their transition, or getting their name changes, all everything, all aspects of it, because I've been there and I've done it, and I had to do most of it on my own and learn all these things on my own and stuff. So I think we should all share our knowledge and help each other, because it does make things a lot easier if you can get advice from people. So ask somebody, ask me, I don't mind. Anyway, that's all for today. I hope that helped a little bit. I put videos out every Sunday and every Wednesday. So if there's anything else you'd like me to discuss or talk about, whether it's about me, whether it's about other trans issues, whether it's just about anything in general, something in the news, anything, then let me know. Until next time, take care, lovelies.